Imagine you are in a situation where someone has hurt you deeply, maybe with their words, actions, or indifference. You feel the sting, the weight of the hurt, and your emotions begin to rise. How do you respond? Do you react in anger, hurt, or even revenge? Or do you take a different path? Now, think about your daily life. How often do we encounter situations that trigger pain, frustration, or discomfort? People say things that hurt us, misunderstandings happen, and relationships falter. It's easy to feel overwhelmed, isn't it? But here's the question. What if the way we respond to these situations is the key to unlocking true peace and freedom? What if there was a simple, yet profound, way to transform this pain into something powerful? How would your life change if you could rise above the hurt, respond with clarity, and find a sense of peace no matter what happens around you? Can it really be that simple? Here's a thought. Imagine a situation where someone wrongs you, and instead of fighting back or holding on to that pain, you let it go. You choose to stay calm, not because you're weak, but because you know that the true strength lies in your response, not in the action itself. You don't hold on to the hurt, it simply flows through you. Could this be the secret to inner peace? Welcome to Wisdom Woven, where we share powerful insights drawn from ancient teachings that can help guide you in your everyday life. If you've ever struggled with how to respond when someone hurts you, you're not alone. In this video, we'll explore how Buddhist wisdom offers a fresh perspective on handling hurt with grace and strength. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% subscribe. So, please, like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to drop your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Now, let's dive into the transformative teachings that can help you respond to hurt in a way that brings you peace, not more suffering. Understanding pain. Why people hurt others. When you feel hurt by someone, it's natural to want to understand why it happened. Why would someone say or do something that causes you pain? The truth is, every action, whether it's kind or hurtful, comes from a place inside the person who does it. It's important to remember that other people's actions are a reflection of them, not of you. Often, when someone hurts you, it's not because of anything you've done. Rather, it's because of something within them. We all carry baggage. Everyone has their own struggles, their own insecurities, fears, and past experiences that shape how they react to the world. For example, someone who feels insecure or unappreciated might lash out at others, projecting their inner turmoil onto the people around them. In such moments, their actions have less to do with you and more to do with the battles they are fighting within themselves. Think about the people you've hurt in your life, whether it was a sharp word or a thoughtless action. Did you do it because you truly wanted to hurt them? No, probably not. Most of the time, when we hurt others, it's because we're acting out of our own pain, frustration, or misunderstanding. When we are hurt, it's easy to forget this, but it's important to recognize that people often hurt others as a result of their own internal wounds. Buddhism teaches us that suffering is a part of life, but so is the possibility of healing. There's a beautiful concept in Buddhism called dukkha, which refers to the inherent suffering in life. Everyone experiences this suffering, but how we respond to it makes all the difference. It's not about avoiding pain, it's about understanding it and learning how to respond in a way that doesn't create more suffering for ourselves or others. When someone hurts you, it's easy to think they're doing it to you, personally. It's natural to take it as an attack. But think for a moment, how often do you hurt others unintentionally? Most of the time, we don't mean to cause harm. And the same goes for the person who hurt you. They may not even realize how deeply their actions affect you. This doesn't excuse their behavior, but it helps to shift your perspective. Imagine someone who is angry or upset. Perhaps they've been holding on to their own pain for a long time. They may speak harshly or react in a way that seems unfair. In those moments, it's crucial to remember that their words or actions are a reflection of their inner world, not a reflection of who you are. It's a moment when you can choose not to absorb their pain, but to see it for what it is, a manifestation of their own suffering. Understanding this doesn't mean you have to condone their behavior. It simply means that you are looking at the situation with compassion, not from a place of judgment or anger. You see them not as an enemy, but as someone who is struggling, just as you might struggle from time to time. In this way, you free yourself from the need to retaliate, to get even, or to hold on to the hurt. Instead, you begin to see their actions as a call for help, not a personal attack. This doesn't mean you should let others walk all over you or tolerate harmful behavior. Boundaries are important, but there's a difference between setting boundaries and holding on to the pain of someone else's actions. When you understand that the hurtful words or actions stem from a place of their own inner turmoil, you can respond with more clarity and less emotion. You don't react in anger or resentment. You respond with understanding and with a desire to protect your peace. In Buddhism, there's a teaching about metta, loving kindness. It's the idea of wishing well for others, even those who may have hurt you. It's a radical act of compassion, one that doesn't require you to agree with the person's behavior, but asks you to recognize their shared humanity. Everyone is struggling in some way. This is not to excuse wrong behavior, but to recognize that pain, suffering, and conflict are part of being human. We all have our own challenges, and sometimes those challenges lead us to behave in ways that hurt others. But when we acknowledge this, we can begin to see others not as enemies, but as fellow travelers on the same difficult journey of life. Think about this. When you're hurt, it's easy to feel like the world is against you. But if you take a step back and look at the bigger picture, you'll see that everyone, no matter how strong or put together they appear, is carrying something. The person who hurt you might be struggling with something you'll never know about. They might be lost in their own pain, just as you sometimes are. In the grand scheme of things, their actions are just a small reflection of their struggles. It's not about you. It's about them. Now, this isn't meant to dismiss your feelings of hurt. Your feelings are valid. What this perspective does is give you the opportunity to let go of the need for revenge or resentment. It offers you the space to choose a different response. Instead of carrying the burden of someone else's pain, you can release it. You don't have to hold on to it because, at its core, the pain they caused you is theirs, not yours. It's something they're carrying, and they're just passing it on to you, but you don't have to accept it. When you understand that others are acting out of their own pain, you start to shift your focus. Instead of wondering why they hurt you, you begin to ask, what can I learn from this situation? What is this moment teaching me? You start to look at the situation from a place of self-awareness, not defensiveness. And in doing so, you free yourself from the cycle of hurt and anger that often follows a painful experience. When someone hurts you, you might think that holding on to the pain will make you feel better or protect you. But it's actually the opposite. Holding on to the hurt only keeps you trapped in the past, while forgiveness and understanding allow you to move forward. By releasing the pain, you're choosing peace over conflict, understanding over judgment, and healing over suffering. So, when you're faced with someone who hurts you, take a moment to pause. Don't react immediately. Instead, ask yourself, what is this person going through? Why might they have acted this way? What can I learn from this experience? And most importantly, remember that their hurt is not yours to carry. You can choose to let it go. This is not an easy path, but it's one that can bring profound peace. It allows you to rise above the situation, not as someone who is weak, but as someone who is strong enough to choose compassion over conflict, understanding over anger. And in doing so, you free yourself, not just from the actions of others, but from the suffering that comes with holding on to that pain. In the end, when we understand that others hurt because of their own suffering, we can choose to rise above the pain. We don't have to let their actions define us. Instead, we can define how we respond, how we heal, and how we move forward with peace. The choice is always ours. The roots of suffering, a Buddhist perspective. Imagine walking through a beautiful garden, surrounded by vibrant flowers and the sweet scent of nature. But as you step further, you notice the soil is dry, the flowers begin to wilt, and the once fresh air now feels stale. It's not the garden's fault, is it? The garden was once thriving, but something deep in the soil caused it to lose its vitality. This is similar to our minds. We may look fine on the outside, but if we don't address the deeper roots of our suffering, we remain disconnected from the peace we seek. In Buddhism, suffering isn't something that just happens to us randomly. It's not a curse or something unfair that we must endure. Suffering, according to the teachings of Buddha, arises from within, specifically, from the way we perceive and react to life. It's not just about external events, it's about how our minds and hearts interpret those events. Take a moment and think about the last time you felt hurt. Perhaps it was a comment someone made, a misunderstanding with a loved one, or even a difficult situation at work. What happens next? We often allow that hurt to take root in our minds. It's like planting a seed in the soil of our emotions. The seed may start small, but over time, it grows. It transforms into anger, resentment, and frustration, overshadowing our happiness. And just like a garden with poor soil, our minds become clouded, unable to nourish our own peace. Buddha taught that our suffering arises from what we call the three poisons: greed, hatred, and ignorance. These are like weeds that grow in the garden of our minds, choking out the flowers of peace, joy, and understanding. When we act out of greed, we always want more attention, more success, more possessions, believing that these things will bring us happiness. But they never do. The more we chase, the emptier we feel. When we act out of hatred, we hold on to anger, bitterness, and resentment. These emotions take up so much space in our hearts that there is no room left for love or compassion. And ignorance, perhaps the most dangerous poison of all, keeps us trapped in a cycle of misunderstanding. We don't truly see things as they are. We see them through a veil of our own judgments, fears, and past experiences. This ignorance clouds our vision and leads to the suffering we experience. The Buddha didn't just talk about suffering, he taught us the path to end it. He didn't say suffering would disappear overnight or that life would become perfect. What he shared was a way to transform our relationship with suffering, to understand its roots and, more importantly, to uproot them. The good news is that suffering is not a permanent state. It's temporary, and with the right understanding and effort, we can begin to heal and shift how we experience life. In Buddhism, we learn to recognize suffering not as something we should avoid, but as something we can transform. When you're hurt, it's not the event itself that causes your pain, it's your reaction to it. You don't have to let the hurt become an overwhelming force. You don't have to hold on to it. This is where wisdom comes in. Wisdom allows us to see that just like the garden, our minds can be transformed. We can uproot the weeds and begin to nurture the seeds of peace, love, and understanding. Buddha's teachings encourage us to look at our emotions with awareness, rather than letting them control us. We are not our anger, our jealousy, or our frustration. These are simply temporary states of mind, like clouds passing through the sky. The sky itself remains clear and vast. So too can our true nature remain untouched by the storms of life. We can acknowledge the hurt, but we don't have to be consumed by it. But how do we begin to transform these roots of suffering? It starts with mindfulness, the practice of being fully present at each moment without judgment. When we practice mindfulness, we begin to notice how our thoughts and emotions arise, and we can choose not to react. This doesn't mean suppressing our feelings or pretending everything is fine when it's not. It means we learn to recognize the nature of our emotions and understand their impermanence. Imagine for a moment that you're facing a difficult situation where someone has hurt you. Instead of reacting immediately, take a step back. Breathe deeply and observe the feelings that arise. You might feel anger, frustration, or sadness. Rather than letting these feelings take control, simply acknowledge them. I see that I'm angry, or I feel hurt right now. By doing this, you begin to create space between the stimulus and your response. You don't have to act immediately. You can pause, reflect, and then choose how you want to respond. This practice of mindfulness can help us see the impermanent nature of our suffering. Just as clouds eventually pass, so too do our painful emotions. When we begin to understand that everything in life is temporary, including our feelings of hurt, we can begin to detach from them. We don't have to hold on to them. The more we practice this, the less power the weeds of greed, hatred, and ignorance have over us. Another key aspect of the Buddhist path is the practice of compassion. When we understand the roots of our suffering, we can begin to develop compassion for ourselves and others. It's easy to become angry or upset when someone hurts us. But what if, instead of reacting with anger, we responded with compassion? What if we recognized that the person who hurt us is also suffering in their own way? They may be acting out of their own pain, confusion, or fear. When we can see this, it becomes easier to let go of the desire for revenge or retaliation. Instead, we can respond with kindness, which can ultimately bring more peace to both parties. This is not to say that we should allow ourselves to be mistreated or ignore our own needs. Buddhism teaches us to set healthy boundaries and protect ourselves from harm. But it also teaches us that the best way to heal from hurt is not by holding on to it, but by transforming it into something that benefits us and others. When we respond with compassion, we break the cycle of suffering and create space for healing and peace to take root. In the end, the roots of suffering lie deep within us, but so do the seeds of happiness. The choice is ours. Will we continue to water the weeds of anger, greed, and ignorance, or will we cultivate the seeds of wisdom, compassion, and mindfulness? The path to freedom from suffering is not about avoiding pain. It's about how we respond to it. And with the teachings of Buddha, we can learn to respond with understanding, peace, and love. So, the next time you feel hurt or wronged, remember this. You have the power to change the way you experience that pain. It may not be easy at first, but with practice, you can transform your suffering into an opportunity for growth. You are not defined by your pain. You are the gardener of your own mind, and with the right tools, you can create a peaceful, thriving garden where love and wisdom blossom. Karma in the mirror of life, what you send out returns. Life is like a mirror. Every action, every word, every intention you send out reflects back to you. Sometimes we don't realize it, but the way we treat others, the energy we put into the world, is what we will encounter in our own lives. It's easy to think that things happen randomly, that people hurt us just because they are cruel or because the world is unfair. But, in truth, there's a deeper principle at play. This principle is called karma, and understanding it can change the way we respond to hurt and pain in our lives. You've probably heard the saying, "What goes around, comes around." It's simple but carries great wisdom. In Buddhism, karma isn't just about punishment or reward. It's the idea that our actions create ripples in the world. Just as a stone thrown into a pond creates ripples that spread far beyond where the stone lands, our actions, thoughts, and words send out energy that affects our future experiences. This is not some abstract idea. It's a natural law, much like gravity. If you throw a stone up, it will come down. And if you throw out negative energy or anger, that too will come back to you. Now, imagine that someone hurts you, maybe with a sharp word or an unkind gesture. In that moment, it's easy to want to react, to shout back, to feel anger rise up within you, to seek revenge in some form. It's natural to want to defend yourself, to make the person who hurt you feel the way you do. But what if, instead of reacting in that moment, you remembered this simple law of karma? What if you understood that when you respond with anger or hurtful words, you are simply adding more negative energy into the world? And by doing that, you are setting yourself up for more of the same in return. Think of it like planting seeds. Every action you take is like planting a seed in the soil of your life. If you plant seeds of kindness, understanding, and love, those are the fruits that will grow in your future. But if you plant seeds of anger, hatred, and revenge, don't be surprised when those fruits come back to you, bitter and sour. In moments of pain, it can be hard to remember that we are the ones who have the power to choose the seeds we plant. But we do. We always have a choice. And that choice shapes the world we live in. When you begin to understand karma in this way, it becomes easier to see how your actions, no matter how small, matter. If someone hurts you, you can choose to respond in a way that aligns with your highest self, with love and compassion, even in the face of pain. And when you do, you're not just protecting your own peace, you're also creating good karma for yourself. The Buddha taught that the mind is like a garden. What you plant is what you grow. And the seeds of peace, compassion, and wisdom will always yield a harvest of peace. Karma isn't about keeping score. It's not about, "I'll do good so that good things will happen to me." It's not transactional. It's about aligning yourself with a deeper truth, the truth that what you send out into the world is what will eventually return to you. When you act from a place of love, even in the face of hurt, you're opening the door to more love in your life. And, over time, you'll begin to see that the world around you changes. People become kinder, situations unfold with more grace, and you begin to feel lighter, more peaceful. But there's something important to understand about karma. It's not always immediate. Just because you choose to act with kindness when someone hurts you doesn't mean that everything will be perfect right away. The ripples you create will take time to return. Sometimes, the impact of your actions may not be immediately visible, but trust in the process. Trust that every moment you choose to respond with peace is shaping a better future for yourself. Even when it feels like the world is against you, even when it feels like no one sees the goodness you're putting out there, know that it matters. Your actions, no matter how small, are creating a future that reflects your inner peace and wisdom. One of the most powerful aspects of understanding karma is realizing that it gives you complete control over your experience. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that other people are the ones who control how you feel. It's easy to think that when someone hurts you, they are taking away your peace. But that's not true. No one can take away your peace unless you allow them to. Your peace is yours to protect, and karma shows you that by planting seeds of good actions, thoughts, and words, you're not only protecting your peace, you're also creating a future that is aligned with your highest potential. So, the next time someone hurts you, instead of reacting with anger or bitterness, take a moment. Pause. Breathe. Remember the law of karma. Remember that your response is the seed you are planting. Ask yourself, what kind of future do I want to create? Do I want more peace, love, and kindness in my life? If so, then choose to respond with those qualities, even in the face of pain. And as you do, know that you are shaping your life in a way that brings more goodness into the world, not just for you, but for everyone around you. Karma is not about being a passive observer of life. It's about being an active participant, shaping your world with the energy you choose to put into it. It's about realizing that everything you send out returns to you in some form. And with that knowledge, you have the power to choose how you want to experience life. The next time someone hurts you, remember, you don't need to let their actions define your response. You have the power to choose peace, compassion, and understanding. And in doing so, you're not only healing yourself, but you're also healing the world around you. When you begin to live with this understanding, you'll notice something beautiful happening. The more you choose peace, the more peace you'll find. The more you respond with compassion, the more compassionate people and situations will come into your life. It's not magic. It's karma. It's the natural law of life that says, what you send out comes back. And as you continue to plant seeds of love and wisdom, you'll see that your life begins to bloom in ways you never imagined possible. So, the next time someone hurts you, don't react out of anger or frustration. Take a deep breath. Remember the law of karma, and choose to respond with the same love and wisdom that you wish to receive. By doing so, you'll create a future that reflects the peace and harmony you've always wanted to experience. The middle way, balancing emotion and compassion. In life, we often find ourselves caught between two extremes. We either feel too much, overwhelmed by our emotions, or we try to suppress them altogether, thinking that the less we feel, the better. But there's a third way, a middle path, where we can acknowledge our feelings without being controlled by them. This is the essence of the middle way, a teaching that comes from the heart of Buddhism. It's not about ignoring emotions or pretending they don't exist. It's about finding balance, about being fully present with what we feel, without letting those feelings dictate our actions or steal our peace. Think for a moment about the last time someone hurt you. How did it make you feel? Perhaps you felt angry, betrayed, or sad. These emotions are natural, they are part of being human. But the middle way teaches us that emotions, while real and powerful, do not need to rule our lives. When we find ourselves reacting to a situation, it's often because we are caught in an extreme response. We either explode in anger or shut down completely, closing ourselves off from the world. But what if there was another way? What if we could hold both our pain and our compassion at the same time, without one overtaking the other? This is where mindfulness becomes crucial. Mindfulness allows us to observe our emotions as they arise without being swept away by them. It's like standing on the shore of the ocean, watching the waves come and go without being dragged under by them. You don't resist the waves, but you don't let them drown you either. You simply observe. The same applies to our emotions. When someone hurts us, Instead of reacting in anger or suppressing our hurt, we can observe what we're feeling. We acknowledge it, without judgment, and let it pass, just like a wave. Now, this doesn't mean that we ignore the hurt or pretend it didn't happen. It means we don't let the hurt define us or control how we react. We don't give our power away to the situation or the person who caused the pain. Instead, we take a deep breath, pause, and choose how to respond from a place of balance. We recognize that we are more than our emotions, and that we have the ability to choose how we engage with the world around us. Buddhism teaches us to approach life with a sense of detachment, not to be indifferent, but to be free from being controlled by our emotions. Detachment, in this sense, means not allowing our happiness, our peace, or our sense of self-worth to depend on external circumstances. It's about finding a calm center within ourselves, no matter what is happening around us. When we are detached in this way, we can respond with compassion, even when others hurt us. Compassion, as taught by Buddhism, is not about feeling sorry for someone. It's about understanding their suffering and choosing to act in a way that helps both them and ourselves. It's easy to react out of anger or frustration when someone hurts us. But when we pause and take a moment to breathe, we can see things more clearly. We can understand that the person who hurt us is likely suffering in their own way. Maybe they're acting out of their own pain, their own fear, or their own confusion. When we are able to see their suffering, we can begin to cultivate compassion instead of anger. This doesn't mean we allow others to treat us badly or that we don't set boundaries. It simply means that we recognize that their hurtful actions come from their own suffering, not from a place of malice or hatred. When we see this, it becomes easier to respond with kindness and understanding, rather than reacting with hurt or revenge. The middle way is not about being passive or submissive. It's about being strong enough to remain calm and centered in the face of challenge. It's about choosing to respond from a place of wisdom and compassion, rather than from a place of reactivity. When we choose the middle way, we choose peace. We choose not to let the pain of others become our own pain. We choose to rise above the situation, to see it for what it truly is, and to respond in a way that brings healing, not more hurt. In the Buddhist tradition, there's a concept called right action, which teaches us to act in a way that is harmonious with our values and our true nature. Right action is not about what we do, but about how we do it. It's about acting from a place of compassion, wisdom, and mindfulness, regardless of the situation. So when someone hurts you, your response becomes your right action. It's not about reacting out of emotion or following the patterns of past hurts. It's about responding in a way that aligns with your inner peace, your compassion, and your wisdom. This doesn't happen overnight. It's a practice, one that requires patience, self-awareness, and a willingness to look at ourselves honestly. But over time, as we cultivate mindfulness and compassion, we begin to notice a shift. We don't feel the need to react to every hurt or injustice. Instead, we feel a deep sense of inner peace, knowing that our response is rooted in wisdom, not in impulse. Imagine a life where you no longer let others' words or actions dictate your emotions. Imagine responding to hurt with understanding, not defensiveness. Imagine feeling at peace, even when things are difficult. This is the power of the middle way. It's the path of balance, of not allowing yourself to be swept away by the extremes of emotion, but instead finding a center of calm, clarity, and compassion. The middle way doesn't mean avoiding pain. It means embracing life in its fullness, the pain, the joy, the challenges, and the triumphs. It means accepting that hurt is a part of life, but it doesn't have to control us. It means finding the strength to remain balanced in the face of life's difficulties, knowing that we have the power to choose how we respond. This, ultimately, is the wisdom that Buddhism offers, that we are not at the mercy of our emotions, and that we have the power to transform our responses. When we learn to live from the middle way, we learn to live with compassion, clarity, and peace. And in doing so, we find that the hurt of others no longer has the power to disturb our inner harmony. We become free. The power of presence, mindfulness in moments of hurt. When you are hurt by someone, it feels as though the world is against you. The sting of their words or actions seems to take over your entire being. You might feel angry, sad, or even lost in the moment. It's natural to want to react, to lash out or hold onto the hurt because it feels so real, so personal. But here's the thing. In the very moment that you are feeling this hurt, you have a choice. A choice that can change everything. Mindfulness is the practice of being present, fully aware and fully conscious of the present moment. It's easy to get lost in the past, thinking about what happened, or to get lost in the future, worrying about what will happen next. But what if, just for a moment, you chose to be present with the hurt you're feeling right now? What if, instead of trying to push it away or react to it, you simply allowed yourself to feel it completely, without judgment, without fear? The Buddha taught that all suffering comes from our attachment to things. We become attached to the idea of how things should be, and when life doesn't match our expectations, we suffer. When someone hurts us, we may cling to the story of the hurt. We might replay it over and over in our minds, letting it take root in our hearts. The problem with this is that the more we hold on to the hurt, the more it controls us. But mindfulness teaches us a different way. Instead of clinging, we can simply notice the hurt. We can allow it to exist without letting it define us. Think about it. When you are hurt, the first thing that happens is usually a rush of emotions. Anger, sadness, disappointment, they all come flooding in. In that moment, the mind starts to spiral. You may start thinking, "Why did they do this to me?" Or, "I don't deserve this." And while these thoughts are completely natural, they are also what keep us trapped in the cycle of suffering. These thoughts pull us away from the present moment and into a world of stories that aren't real. The hurt becomes a narrative, a story we keep telling ourselves, which only amplifies the pain. Now, mindfulness asks you to do something radical, to pause. To simply stop for a moment and breathe. When you feel hurt, instead of letting the emotions take control, stop. Close your eyes if you can, or simply take a deep breath. Feel the sensations of your body in the moment, the warmth, the tension, the tightness in your chest. Allow yourself to feel the full weight of the emotion, but without judgment. You are not your emotions. You are the one who is aware of them. In that moment of presence, you may realize something surprising. The hurt begins to lose its grip on you. It doesn't have the same power anymore. Yes, you still feel it, but you don't become it. The pain is like a wave in the ocean, rising and falling. It comes and goes. It doesn't define you, and it doesn't last forever. This is the power of mindfulness. It allows you to separate yourself from the pain. It helps you to step back and see the situation with a clearer mind. When you are present, you don't let the hurt control you. You don't react impulsively, and you don't let the emotions take over your thoughts. You simply experience what's happening in the moment, and then you let it pass. It's not about pretending the hurt doesn't exist or denying it. Mindfulness doesn't ask you to suppress your feelings. It simply asks you to observe them without becoming entangled in them. The more you practice mindfulness, the more you realize that your emotional responses don't need to rule your life. You can feel your feelings, but you don't need to react to them. You don't have to let them shape your actions or your sense of self. One of the most powerful ways to practice mindfulness in moments of hurt is through conscious breathing. When you find yourself overwhelmed by the emotion of being hurt, take a deep breath. Breathe in slowly, hold for a moment, and then breathe out. Focus on the sensation of the air entering and leaving your body. Let your breath anchor you to the present moment. This simple act can help to bring clarity and calmness to your mind. It's a reminder that, in this very moment, you are okay. The hurt may be there, but so is your ability to breathe, to choose how you respond. Another aspect of mindfulness is noticing the thoughts that arise in your mind when you're hurt. Often, we think we are our thoughts. If we're angry, we believe the anger defines us. If we're hurt, we believe the hurt is who we are. But this is not true. You are not your thoughts, just as you are not your emotions. You are the awareness behind them. By noticing your thoughts without judgment, you can begin to create some space between you and the emotional reaction. This space allows you to choose how to respond. It gives you the freedom to decide whether you want to hold on to the hurt or let it go. The more you practice mindfulness, the more you start to realize that your emotional responses are not as powerful as you once thought. Hurt will come, yes. Pain is part of life. But mindfulness helps you to see that it doesn't have to control you. You are not a victim of your emotions. You have the power to choose how you respond. And in that choice, you find your strength. In the teachings of Buddhism, there is a beautiful concept called equanimity. It is the ability to remain balanced, calm, and unaffected by the ups and downs of life. Equanimity doesn't mean that you don't feel anything. It means that you don't allow the highs and lows of life to disturb your inner peace. Mindfulness is a powerful tool for developing equanimity. When you practice mindfulness in moments of hurt, you are cultivating this balance. You are learning to stay grounded, no matter what life throws at you. It's important to understand that this doesn't happen overnight. Mindfulness is a skill, one that requires patience and practice. In the beginning, it may feel difficult to remain present in moments of pain. Your mind will want to race, your emotions will want to take over. But with time, mindfulness becomes easier. It becomes a natural response to life's challenges. You will begin to notice the moments when you are present and when you are lost in thought. And little by little, you'll start to choose presence over reaction. When someone hurts you, mindfulness allows you to see the situation with clarity. You may realize that the person who hurt you is also suffering in their own way. They may be acting out of their own pain, their own fears, their own struggles. Mindfulness helps you to see beyond the surface and understand that everyone is carrying their own burdens. This doesn't excuse their behavior, but it does help you to respond with compassion, rather than anger or resentment. In the end, mindfulness is not just about how you handle hurt. It's about how you handle life. It's about being present, no matter what comes your way. It's about finding peace, even in the most difficult moments. And the more you practice, the more you realize that this peace is always available to you, if you choose to be present with it. So the next time you feel hurt, try this. Take a deep breath, become aware of the moment, and simply be present with your feelings. Let go of the need to react. Let go of the need to control. And in that stillness, you may just find the peace that you've been searching for all along. Letting go without losing yourself, detachment, not indifference. When someone hurts you, it's natural to feel hurt in return. But the real question is, how long will you hold on to that hurt? Will you carry it with you for days, months, or years? Or will you learn to release it, like water flowing through your fingers, without letting it control you? It's not about forgetting what happened or pretending it didn't matter. It's about not allowing the hurt to define you, to trap you in a cycle of pain. This is where the Buddhist practice of detachment can offer profound peace. Letting go doesn't mean that you no longer care. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's about caring enough to free yourself from the burden of resentment and anger. When we hold on to hurt, it's as if we're drinking poison, hoping the other person will suffer. But that's not the way to heal. The longer we cling to pain, the deeper it grows. When we let go, we make space for healing to take place. Think about the image of a river. The water flows, constantly moving, never stagnant. If the river were to hold on to every stone, every branch that falls into it, it would eventually become clogged, slow, and unmoving. But the river keeps flowing. It doesn't stop for any obstacle. It simply lets go and continues its journey. This is the essence of detachment in Buddhism. It's about releasing the grip we have on things, understanding that holding on to them only creates suffering for us. Now, detachment doesn't mean that you don't care about others, or that you become cold and indifferent. In fact, detachment is the opposite of indifference. Indifference is when we shut ourselves off from the world, not caring about what happens. Detachment is when we choose to let go of the hurt, the anger, the resentment, without allowing it to affect our peace. You can still love, you can still care deeply about others, but you choose not to let their actions dictate your emotional state. Imagine a situation where someone insults you. Your first instinct may be to retaliate, to defend your honor, to make them feel the way you do. But what if, instead, you paused for a moment? What if you allowed yourself to feel the hurt, without immediately acting on it? What if you didn't respond in anger, but in understanding? You begin to see that their actions are not about you. They're a reflection of their own struggles, their own pain. They may be projecting their own unhappiness onto you. When you understand this, the sting of their words starts to fade. This is the essence of Buddhist wisdom, understanding that the hurt we experience is not always personal. The person who hurt you may be carrying their own burdens, their own unresolved pain. By holding on to the hurt they've caused you, you only add to the suffering, both theirs and yours. But when you let go, when you release the need for revenge or retaliation, you free yourself from the cycle of suffering. Detachment allows you to step back and gain perspective. Instead of being consumed by the emotions that rise up when someone hurts you, you can observe them as they come and go, like clouds passing across the sky. They don't define you. You are not your anger, your hurt, or your resentment. You are the sky, vast, open, and unaffected by the clouds that come and go. The more you practice detachment, the more you realize that your peace doesn't depend on anyone else's actions. It comes from within. But here's the thing. Detachment is not something that happens overnight. It's a practice, a habit that we cultivate over time. It's like training a muscle. At first, it may feel hard, uncomfortable even, but with time, it becomes easier. You start to notice the little moments when you could hold on to hurt, but instead, you choose to release it. You begin to see that letting go doesn't make you weak or passive. In fact, it makes you strong. It takes great courage to release the hold you have on your emotions, to step away from the drama and the chaos of the world. This practice of detachment doesn't mean that you become numb or disconnected. You can still feel deeply. You can still experience the full range of human emotions. But instead of being controlled by them, you choose to let them come and go. You choose not to cling to them. This is the beauty of Buddhist detachment. It allows you to feel and experience life fully, without being ruled by your emotions. The Dalai Lama once said, "If you can't forgive, then you are holding on to the past, and that past is blocking your future." Holding on to the hurt doesn't change what happened. It doesn't make things right, but letting go does. When you forgive, when you detach, you create space for growth, for healing, and for a future that isn't shackled by the pain of the past. In Buddhism, there's a concept called non-attachment. It's the idea that we shouldn't cling to anything, whether it's a person, a possession, or even an emotion. When we cling, we suffer. But when we practice non-attachment, we open ourselves up to freedom. We understand that life is impermanent. Everything changes. The person who hurt you today may be different tomorrow. The situation that feels unbearable now may shift with time. By letting go, we align ourselves with the natural flow of life. Imagine, then, a life where you are no longer controlled by your reactions, a life where you can rise above the pain and choose peace. That's what detachment offers, a path to freedom. It's not a passive acceptance of what happens. It's an active choice to let go of what you cannot control and to embrace the peace that comes with it. When you detach from the need to be right, the need to control, or the need to seek revenge, you open the door to wisdom and compassion. You begin to see the world through a different lens, one that is not clouded by your personal wounds. You start to realize that your peace is more important than winning, more important than being justified. When you let go, you find the peace that's always been within you. Detachment, in the Buddhist sense, is not about becoming indifferent or cold. It's about understanding that you are not defined by what happens to you. You are more than your emotions, more than your past experiences, more than the people who hurt you. When you let go, you return to your true self, the calm, peaceful, and loving person who exists beneath all the layers of anger and hurt. As you practice this, remember that it's okay to feel hurt. It's okay to be angry. But don't let those feelings control you. Don't let them define who you are. Let them come, let them pass, and let them go. In doing so, you will find the freedom to live a life of peace, no matter what others may do to you. When you truly understand detachment, you'll find that you no longer need to react to every hurt, every slight, or every injustice. You will begin to respond from a place of wisdom, not emotion. You will begin to act with compassion, not anger. And in that space, you'll find the peace you've been seeking all along. Transforming anger into insight, the alchemy of awareness. Anger is a powerful emotion, and at times, it feels like a force of nature. When someone hurts you, it seems almost inevitable that anger will rise within you. You feel it in your chest, like a fire that ignites and spreads. It's intense. You want to react, lash out, defend yourself. Anger makes us feel alive, makes us feel justified. But what if I told you that anger, like fire, can also be used to purify, to transform? In Buddhism, We often speak of transforming negative emotions into something that serves us, rather than harms us. Anger, when unchecked, can become destructive. It can harm our relationships, cloud our judgment, and consume our peace of mind. But when we apply mindfulness and awareness, anger becomes an opportunity. An opportunity to see the world more clearly, to understand ourselves more deeply, and to unlock a new level of wisdom. Let's take a moment to really understand what anger is. Anger is often the result of feeling wronged or threatened. It's the mind's reaction to something it perceives as unjust. When we are hurt, anger rises to defend us. It feels like a shield, a protective armor. But the question is it truly protecting us? Or is it just creating more distance between us and our own peace? Think about it. How many times has your anger led you to a better place? Has reacting in anger ever made things clearer, more peaceful, or more harmonious? Probably not. In fact, anger often clouds our judgment, prevents us from seeing the full picture, and keeps us trapped in a cycle of pain. But if we allow ourselves to pause, just for a moment, before reacting, if we sit with that anger and look at it closely, we can start to see something else. We can see the layers beneath the surface. Anger, at its core, is a response to our own attachments. We get angry because something or someone is threatening something we hold dear, our expectations, our beliefs, or our sense of control. If someone hurts us, it's often because we've attached ourselves to an idea of how they should behave, how life should unfold, or how we should be treated. But in reality, life is unpredictable. People will hurt us. Situations will challenge us. And if we hold tightly to these expectations, we will always feel disappointed, angry, or frustrated. This is where the magic happens, the alchemy of awareness. When we feel anger rise, we can choose not to let it control us. Instead of acting impulsively, we can become aware of it. We can observe it without judgment. And when we do this, we start to separate ourselves from the emotion. We realize that we are not our anger. We are the awareness observing it. This small shift in perspective is the key to transformation. Instead of feeding the fire of anger, we allow it to burn itself out. We acknowledge it, but we don't let it define us. Buddhism teaches us that the key to overcoming negative emotions is not to suppress them or ignore them, but to understand them. Anger, when viewed through the lens of mindfulness, becomes a teacher. It shows us where our attachments lie, where our expectations are rigid, and where our hearts are still bound by past wounds. In this way, anger becomes an invitation to look inward, to uncover the root causes of our suffering, and to free ourselves from them. Imagine, for a moment, that you're caught in a situation where someone has just hurt you. Your immediate reaction is anger. Your mind starts racing, and your heart is pounding. Now, instead of reacting, you pause. You breathe. You acknowledge the anger, but you don't let it control you. You notice how it feels in your body, how your chest tightens, how your thoughts spiral. And as you observe this, you start to realize something. This anger, while intense, is temporary. It will pass. It doesn't have to define your response. You can choose how to react. You can choose peace instead of chaos. This practice of mindfulness is not always easy. It takes patience, self-awareness, and discipline. But the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Over time, you begin to see that anger is not something you need to hold on to. It's simply a visitor that comes and goes. And when you don't cling to it, it loses its power over you. One of the most profound teachings in Buddhism is the concept of non-attachment. We are taught to let go of our attachments to people, things, and outcomes. This doesn't mean we don't care or don't have desires. It simply means that we don't cling to them in a way that causes us suffering. When we let go of our attachment to how things should be or how others should behave, we are free to respond with wisdom, compassion, and clarity, rather than with anger or frustration. But here's the paradox. Anger, when transformed, leads to more compassion. When we begin to see our anger as a mirror of our attachments, we start to understand the suffering of others as well. People who hurt us are often acting out of their own suffering, their own attachments, their own fears. When we can see this, we can respond with compassion instead of anger. We can choose to break the cycle of hurt and retaliation and instead offer understanding and kindness. In this way, anger becomes not just a personal challenge, but a doorway to greater wisdom and compassion. It teaches us about ourselves, about the impermanence of life, and about the interconnectedness of all beings. We are not isolated in our suffering. Everyone has their own battles, their own pain, and their own struggles. And when we respond with awareness and compassion, we heal not only ourselves but also contribute to the healing of the world around us. So, the next time anger rises within you, remember this. It's not the anger itself that's the problem. It's how you choose to relate to it. Will you allow it to control you? Or will you use it as an opportunity to grow? Will you react with more anger? Or will you transform that energy into insight and compassion? The choice is yours. And with each mindful moment, you move closer to the peace and wisdom that lies within you. This is the alchemy of awareness, turning the base metal of anger into the gold of insight and compassion. It's a process that requires patience, practice, and a deep understanding of the nature of our emotions. But the more we practice, the more natural it becomes. And with time, we discover that we don't need to be at the mercy of our emotions. We can master them, and in doing so, we master ourselves. Loving-kindness meditation, a practice for the wounded heart. In life, we often encounter moments where our hearts feel heavy with the weight of others' words or actions. These wounds can be deep, and sometimes, it feels like no matter how hard we try, we cannot let go of the hurt. But what if the key to healing didn't lie in simply forgetting the pain, but in choosing to replace it with something more powerful, something that brings peace to our hearts? This is where loving-kindness meditation comes in. Loving-kindness meditation, or metta bhavana, is an ancient Buddhist practice that helps us cultivate a heart full of love and compassion, even in the face of pain. It's a simple practice, yet profound in its effect. It doesn't require complex rituals or special skills, just a willingness to open the heart and mind to the idea of compassion, both for yourself and others. At its core, loving-kindness meditation is about developing a mindset of goodwill. It's about seeing beyond the hurt someone may have caused you and recognizing that, just like you, they too are human. They too have their own struggles, their own wounds, and their own fears. We all are. And when you see that, the need to hold on to anger or resentment begins to fade. Instead, you start to see the possibility of healing, both for yourself and for those who have wronged you. So how does it work? It's simple. The practice involves repeating phrases of goodwill, starting with yourself. You might say silently to yourself, "May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be safe. May I live with ease." These words are not just empty affirmations. They are a way to connect with your own worth and humanity. In this space, you give yourself permission to heal. You acknowledge that you deserve peace, just as anyone else does. After a few minutes of sending kindness to yourself, you expand that love to others. You might start with people who are easy to love, your family, your friends, your loved ones, and then gradually extend it to people with whom you have more difficult relationships. You may even include people who have hurt you. This isn't about excusing their behavior or forgetting what they did, but rather about recognizing that holding on to resentment only continues to hurt you, not them. In this practice, you are letting go of the emotional burden that comes with holding on to anger or bitterness. The beauty of loving-kindness meditation is that it doesn't depend on the other person changing. It doesn't matter if they ever apologize or even understand the pain they've caused. The only thing that matters is that you are choosing peace over pain. You are choosing love over hatred, forgiveness over resentment. In this moment, you are free, not because others have changed, but because you have chosen to let go of the weight that was holding you down. And this practice is not just about transforming how you feel about others, it's about transforming how you feel about yourself. Often, when someone hurts us, we internalize that pain. We believe that we are somehow unworthy or deserving of the hurt. Loving-kindness meditation helps to break that belief. By repeating the phrases of goodwill, we begin to remember our inherent worth. We begin to see ourselves with compassion, and in doing so, we become less affected by the negativity that others may project onto us. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Over time, you'll notice that situations that once triggered intense emotional reactions, anger, hurt, frustration, no longer have the same power over you. You'll find yourself responding to difficult situations with calmness, with understanding, and with the wisdom that comes from knowing that we all, at the core, want the same thing: peace, love, and happiness. But here's something important to remember. Loving-kindness meditation is not about pretending the pain isn't real. It's not about burying your feelings or pretending to be okay when you're not. It's about acknowledging the hurt, but then choosing to soften your heart, not harden it. It's about choosing a response that is grounded in love rather than in the pain of the past. If you've ever felt trapped in the cycle of hurt, resentment, and anger, loving-kindness meditation can offer a way out. It's a practice that invites you to return to your natural state of peace, to release the grip of suffering, and to find the strength to be kind, first to yourself, and then to others, even those who have caused you pain. And with each practice, you begin to change. You become someone who no longer reacts with bitterness but responds with compassion. You become someone who chooses healing over hurt. One of the most beautiful things about loving-kindness meditation is that it's a practice that you can carry with you throughout your day. It doesn't have to be confined to a quiet space on a cushion. You can practice it while walking, driving, or even when you're interacting with others. Whenever you find yourself in a difficult moment, whether you're facing someone who has hurt you or you're just feeling overwhelmed by life's challenges, you can silently send out thoughts of goodwill. May they be happy. May they be healthy. May they be safe. These simple words can begin to transform your mind, your heart, and your entire experience of life. This practice isn't about becoming perfect. It's not about erasing all the negative emotions we feel. It's about recognizing that emotions come and go, and we don't have to be controlled by them. Through loving-kindness meditation, we learn that we can be present with our pain without letting it define us. We can acknowledge our hurt without allowing it to rule our lives. And in doing so, we find that we can live with more peace, more love, and more joy, no matter what comes our way. Over time, as you continue to practice, you'll notice that your relationships with others begin to shift. The people who once triggered your anger or frustration might not have the same effect on you anymore. Even if they still act in ways that are difficult, you will find that you can respond with a sense of compassion instead of defensiveness. This shift isn't about condoning their behavior. It's about freeing yourself from the emotional chains of the past. In the end, loving-kindness meditation is not just a tool for managing hurt. It's a way of life. It's a way of being that allows us to live in harmony with ourselves and with the world around us. It's a practice that teaches us that the power to heal and to live peacefully is always within us, waiting to be awakened. And once we awaken to it, there's no turning back, because the heart that is open to love is also open to the world. Healing through wisdom, stories of real transformation. When you hear the word healing, what comes to mind? Is it physical healing, when the body mends itself after an injury? Or emotional healing, when the heart repairs itself after pain? Both are important, but there is a deeper level of healing that is often overlooked, one that comes from the wisdom of how we respond to life's challenges. Healing through wisdom is not just about getting over something. It's about transforming the way we view pain, loss, and conflict. It's about realizing that pain is not the enemy, but rather a teacher. In the teachings of Buddhism, there is a powerful story that can help us understand this. Once, a young man came to the Buddha, filled with anger and resentment. He had been hurt by people in his life, and the bitterness had grown within him like a poison. How can I heal from this? He asked the Buddha. How can I find peace when all I feel is this anger and hurt? The Buddha looked at him with compassion and said, Imagine you are carrying a heavy burden. Every time someone hurts you, you add another stone to that burden. Over time, the weight of those stones becomes unbearable. But the real question is not how to get rid of the stones. The real question is, why are you still carrying them? The young man was confused. What do you mean? How can I let go of my anger when I have been wronged so many times? The Buddha smiled gently. Letting go doesn't mean you forget or allow people to walk all over you. It means you stop carrying the weight of that anger. You stop letting it control you. The moment you realize that you don't need to hold on to the hurt, you are free. This story reveals something profound. Healing begins when we stop holding on to the past. It begins when we understand that, While we cannot control others' actions, we can control how we react. We can choose not to let the past dictate our present. The pain of yesterday only has power over us if we continue to carry it with us. And when we stop carrying it, something amazing happens. We start to heal. Let's look at a real-life example. There was once a woman who had been deeply hurt by her family. For years, she carried the weight of betrayal, of harsh words spoken in moments of anger, and the feeling of abandonment. It was a constant ache in her chest, a cloud that followed her wherever she went. She tried to move on, but the hurt was so deeply rooted that it affected every aspect of her life. She found herself unable to trust others, unable to open her heart fully, because the fear of being hurt again was always there. One day, she came across the teachings of a Buddhist monk who spoke about forgiveness, not as something we do for others, but as something we do for ourselves. The monk said, "Forgiveness is not about forgetting or excusing. It's about freeing your heart from the chains of anger and resentment. When you forgive, you are not giving the other person a pass. You are freeing yourself." The woman reflected on this deeply. She realized that her pain had become like a wall around her heart. She had built this wall to protect herself from further hurt, but in doing so, she had also shut out love, joy, and peace. The more she held on to the anger, the more isolated she became. It was like carrying around a heavy stone in her chest. No matter how hard she tried, she could not escape the weight. One evening, she sat quietly and began to meditate on the pain she had been holding. She imagined herself gently placing the stones of hurt, betrayal, and anger down, one by one. With each stone, she felt a little lighter. The wall around her heart began to crack, and the pain that had once been a constant companion started to fade. For the first time in years, she felt free. Healing through wisdom is not always an instant process. It's not about magically erasing the pain, but it is about learning to let go of the need to hold on to it, learning to let go of the idea that we must carry our hurt with us for the rest of our lives. When we allow ourselves the space to heal, we create room for peace to enter. Another beautiful teaching from Buddhism tells us that life is constantly changing. Every moment, the world around us shifts. Just as the seasons change, so too do our emotions, our thoughts, and our experiences. Healing happens when we stop clinging to the past and open ourselves to the present moment. We are not the sum of our past hurts, nor are we defined by the mistakes others have made. We are constantly evolving, and every moment is an opportunity for growth. Healing is also deeply connected to compassion. True compassion is not just about feeling sorry for someone. It's about understanding that everyone, including ourselves, is on their own journey. When we experience pain, we often forget that others, too, are suffering in their own ways. The Buddhist teaching of compassionate understanding invites us to recognize that those who hurt us may themselves be wounded. Their actions are often a reflection of their own inner struggles. Understanding this doesn't excuse their behavior, but it helps us release the grip that anger and resentment have on us. Think about the story of the Buddha. He was not untouched by pain or suffering. He lost his loved ones, faced betrayal, and lived through hardship. But what made him different was his ability to transform suffering into wisdom. He didn't let it harden his heart. Instead, he learned to approach suffering with a deep sense of understanding and compassion. And in doing so, he found a way to live in peace amidst the chaos of life. This is the path to healing. It's not about avoiding pain or pretending it doesn't exist. It's about learning how to face pain with courage, how to see it for what it truly is, a teacher. Pain shows us where we need to grow. It reveals our vulnerabilities, our fears, and our attachments. When we embrace these lessons, we find ourselves becoming stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. Through wisdom, we can turn even the deepest wounds into sources of strength. We learn that we are not defined by our pain, but by how we choose to respond to it. Healing is a process, but every step we take toward understanding and acceptance brings us closer to peace. The key to healing is understanding that true freedom comes when we stop holding on to the past. It comes when we learn to forgive not just others, but ourselves. Healing through wisdom is about letting go of the need to be right, to be justified, or to have our hurt acknowledged by others. It's about finding peace within, regardless of what the outside world may bring. As you go through your own journey of healing, Remember this: you have the power to transform your pain. You have the wisdom within you to choose how you respond. In the moment you choose to let go, to release the weight of the past, you will begin to experience the freedom and peace that comes with true healing. The path is not always easy, but it is always worth it. And when you walk this path with wisdom, you will find that not only do you heal yourself, but you also become a source of healing for others. Your story, your transformation, will inspire those around you. And in this way, the healing never ends. It continues, rippling out into the world, touching hearts and changing lives. Healing through wisdom is not just about finding peace for yourself. It's about creating a more peaceful world, one small act of understanding at a time. Living with peace, your journey forward. As we come to the final part of this journey together, it's time to reflect on what we've learned and think about how we can carry these teachings forward into our everyday lives. By now, you might have started to realize that peace isn't something you have to wait for or hope for. It's not a distant destination, nor is it something that comes from the outside. Peace, real peace, begins from within you. The pain you've felt, the hurt you've experienced, they're a part of life, but they don't define you unless you let them. We've talked about how people hurt us, how they might not even realize the impact of their actions or words. But, as we've seen, the true test isn't in what others do, it's in how we respond. When someone hurts you, the power is in your hands. Do you allow that pain to consume you? Or do you recognize it for what it is, a passing moment, something that doesn't need to become your story? Think about a time when you felt anger rise within you. Maybe it was in response to a friend's betrayal, a family member's criticism, or even a stranger's rude comment. It's easy to be swept up in that moment, to react in a way that might later leave you feeling regretful. But imagine, just for a second, that you paused before reacting. You took a deep breath, acknowledged the pain, and then chose a different path. Maybe you responded with kindness, with understanding, or simply walked away. And what if, in doing so, you didn't just protect yourself from further harm, but also created an opportunity for peace, not just for you, but for the other person as well? This is where the practice of forgiveness comes in. Forgiveness isn't about excusing the hurtful behavior of others. It's about setting yourself free. By letting go of the need to hold on to the anger or pain, you release its hold on you. You allow yourself to be free from the weight of resentment, and in doing so, you invite peace back into your heart. This is not an easy task, and it's not something that happens overnight. But with time, with patience, and with consistent practice, it becomes part of who you are. When we practice forgiveness, we are not doing it for the other person. We are doing it for ourselves. It's a gift we give ourselves, a chance to move forward without being dragged down by the past. Each time we forgive, we take one step closer to the peace we've been seeking all along. It's like clearing the clutter from your mind, making space for wisdom, compassion, and joy to flow in. Now, let's talk about love. You might be thinking, but how can I love someone who has hurt me so deeply? It seems impossible, doesn't it? But love, real love, doesn't come from a place of perfection. It comes from a place of acceptance. In Buddhism, there's a concept called metta, or loving kindness. It's not just love for those who are kind to us. It's love for all beings, even those who have wronged us. Loving kindness isn't about pretending everything is okay when it's not. It's about acknowledging the hurt, but still choosing to extend compassion. It's about wishing for the happiness and well-being of others, regardless of their actions. When we cultivate this kind of love, we realize that we don't need anyone else to change in order for us to feel at peace. We don't need the approval or apology of others. Instead, we find peace within ourselves by choosing to love, even in the face of pain. Another important practice is mindfulness. In our daily lives, it's easy to become distracted, to let our thoughts run wild, to react automatically without thinking. But mindfulness is about bringing your attention to the present moment. When someone hurts you, mindfulness allows you to pause before reacting. It allows you to acknowledge the emotion, the pain, without letting it control you. By staying present, you can make a conscious choice about how to respond, rather than letting your emotions take over. Through mindfulness, you also begin to notice the small moments of joy that often go unnoticed. The warmth of the sun on your face, the sound of laughter, the simple pleasure of a cup of tea. When you are present, you begin to see that peace isn't found in the big, dramatic moments. It's found in the quiet, everyday moments, in the spaces between the noise of life. One of the greatest lessons in Buddhism is that suffering is a part of life. It's not something to be avoided or feared, it's something to be understood. When you begin to understand that suffering is natural, you stop resisting it. Instead of fighting against the hurt, you acknowledge it, learn from it, and let it pass. The key isn't in avoiding pain, it's in how you handle it when it comes. You don't need to cling to it or make it a part of your identity. Instead, you allow it to pass, just as clouds pass through the sky. Now, as we close this chapter, I want to remind you that peace is not a destination, it's a journey. It's something you create, moment by moment, through the choices you make. You have the power to shape your reality, to transform the way you respond to hurt, and to live with a heart full of peace. Every time someone hurts you, it's an opportunity to practice. It's an opportunity to choose kindness, compassion, and forgiveness. It's an opportunity to show up for yourself in a way that honors your own peace. And with each practice, you grow stronger. You grow wiser. You become a person who no longer reacts with anger, but responds with understanding. You become someone who lives not by the actions of others, but by the strength of your own heart. So, as you move forward, remember that the peace you seek is already within you. It's waiting for you to claim it. And with each step you take, you'll find that living with peace is not just possible, it's inevitable. Thank you for taking this journey with me. I hope you found some wisdom that will serve you on your path. May you walk forward with peace, with strength, and with love in your heart. Keep practicing, and remember, the journey never truly ends. It's just the beginning of a new chapter, one where peace is always within reach.